What's up, everybody? My name is Taylor, and I'm one of the student pastors here at CCV for our junior high ministry. Hey, 8th graders, I'm about to say some things that, listen, I get it. You already know this. But we have some new 7th graders here, and well, they don't know really anything that's going on. And you're the leaders now, so we got to keep them in check. So just bear with me, okay? Thanks. Thank you. 7th graders! Guys, we are so excited that you are here. You're a part of this family, and listen, congratulations. You escaped the kids' room. That's a huge accomplishment. Now, we want to catch you up to speed with some things that you need to know. Here's the first massive thing you need to know about. There are 4 letters that you need to know. Come with me. You need to know C, C, D, M. Now, you're probably wondering, Taylor, what does this mean? Glad you asked. It means Christ-centered difference maker. Now, here's our hope for you, that you would put Jesus at the center of everything that you do. And because Jesus is at the center of your life, when you go out into the world, whether it's your school, your home, with your friends, in sports, I don't care where it is, because Jesus is at the center of your life, you go make a difference for Jesus. Man, I even hope, because I know there's some people here that don't believe in Jesus. And so I need you to know, if you don't believe in Jesus, that you belong here before you believe anything that we believe. You have a place here. Guys, I'm telling you, 7th grade can be amazing. I remember when I was in 7th grade, it was one of the best years of my life. I remember this one time when I was a 7th grader. You're not gonna believe me when I say this, but I got into a fight with a 7-foot 8th grader. His name was Boris. He was a foreign exchange student. Yeah, he looked like this, tracksuit and all. Like tracksuit. And then I did this stanky leg in this epic dance battle with Boris. And I don't know, afterwards, I just decided, dude, I'm gonna give you like a swirly. It was crazy. I don't know what happened. But here's what's crazy. Afterwards, we became best friends. Can you imagine that? Me and him, me and Boris, we're homies at this point. And here's what's crazy. He was actually the best man in my wedding. Guys, you have no idea what could happen your 7th grade year. 7th graders, we love you guys. And we're so glad you're here. Okay, listen, I gotta come clean about something. Yeah, that whole Taylor 7th grade, stinky leg, swirly story, that was a fake story. Yeah, that was fake, and even more so, wow, we are off to a great start. I'm already lying to you new 7th graders. That whole update sequence that happened on your screen, that was also fake. That was also made up. But listen, you can't just be mad at me, because your student pastor was in on that too. So look at your student pastor right now, find them in the room, and be like, how could you? How could you lie to me, student pastor? And literally, go find them. Go say that to them, okay? All right, come on back. Even though that update sequence was fake, I think I triggered something inside of you that's true. Here's what I know about you and me. Updates in our life, when updates happen, they can be incredibly frustrating and so annoying. Let me prove it to you, okay? We have updates happening in so many different places in our life. For instance, you come home from school, and the last thing you want to do is like life. You don't want to do homework or chores or really anything. All you want to do is play Fortnite with the boys. You know what I'm saying? You want to turn on the Xbox and play Fortnite on the sticks. And so you go to turn your Xbox on, and then you get, oh no, you get this update bar, and it says 38 minutes until update's done. And now you have to wait 38 minutes to play Fortnite with the boys, and you're just so frustrated, and you're like, why me? Or this, okay. You go to bed, and you set your alarm before you go to bed, and usually if you accidentally sleep in a few minutes and you're a little late to school, it's not a big deal. But listen, there's a dance coming up, and well, fellas, there's that girl that you think is really cute, and you're like, she smells nice. And you want to ask her to this dance. So you make sure you're going to get to school on time and then ask her to the dance. Well, you go to set your alarm, you fall asleep, and plot twist. You get like a phone update in the middle of the night and it shuts your alarm off, and then you miss your alarm, and then you get to school late, and well, there was another guy that asked that girl out to the dance before you could get to school, and now you have to go to the dance by yourself looking like an idiot? Just me? Okay, yeah, for sure that didn't happen to anyone else but me. Or how about this? Mom says, hey, you get to choose dinner tonight. And you're like, praise the Lord. Because all you can think about this past week is, man, I just really want Chick-fil-A. That's all I want is a 12-piece nugget, a large fry, a blue Powerade, 2 ranch, and 2 buffalo. And so you're like, hey, Ma, let's go to Chick-fil-A. She's like, great, sweetie, let's go to Chick-fil-A. So you drive to Chick-fil-A, you get to the door, and it's locked. And there's this sign on the door that says restaurant updating, dining room needs some touch-ups. And you're just like wondering, God, why me? Why me and my chicken dreams? Why did you have to ruin them? Or this, your wardrobe, it needs some updating. And so you save up some money. You've had your eye on these Jordans for a while on StockX, and you collect like $500. You save some money up. Then you go and you drop $500 on the Jordans. You put them on your feet. You wear them to school the next day, and you realize that wardrobe update that you made, those kicks are no longer in style because fashion changes every 5 seconds. And now you look like a doofus with Jordans that aren't even cool, and now you're out $500. Guys, updates can be the absolute worst, and they can be so frustrating. Now, I think updates, sure, they're frustrating because they happen in so many different corners of our life, but I think the real reason updates are so incredibly frustrating is because of the frequency in which they happen. They're happening at 1,000,000 miles per hour in our life, and we can't keep up. We constantly have to update what we think. We constantly have to update how we say things. We constantly have to update words that we're using. We constantly have to update our profile picture. We constantly have to update the videos that we post on Snapchat and TikTok. We constantly have to update our friendships. We constantly have to update our relationships. We constantly have to update the things we like. We constantly have to update the things we don't like. We constantly have to update our opinions. Update. Update. It's exhausting. And it's hard to keep up regardless of how much you like change. Wouldn't it be amazing if the things in our life that needed updates, we just needed one and then we were done? I want to add one more place to your life that requires an update quite frequently that can be exhausting. It's when we try to update our life to look more like Jesus' life. 1 John 2:6 says this, whoever claims to live in him must live as Jesus did. When we say yes to Jesus, our life should look like his. Our life should reflect Jesus. But if we're just being honest, you realize that's not easy. If I'm just being honest with you, when I try to pursue a life with my life looking like Jesus, I realize it's difficult work. Because here's the thing, I remember when I said yes to Jesus for the first time, I pictured that in my brain like a finish line. I thought when I said yes to Jesus, I was done making updates in that part of my life. Because I said yes to Jesus, I had to make one update, and that was it. My life would look like Jesus' life. But the more I follow Jesus, the more I chase after Jesus and I look at his life, the more I realize that when I said yes to Jesus for the first time as a high school student, that was actually my starting line. That was my starting place as I pursue Jesus and chase after Jesus the rest of my life. Because when I look at my life and I look at Jesus' life, I realize that there's a massive gap in between those two things. And I realize that there are constant updates I need to make in my life. Like the way I say things, the things that I think, how I treat people, how I love others. And more times than not, it can be frustrating. There are days where I try to update these things in my life to look like Jesus, and I just fail. And I want to quit. We're going to start this series called Update. And in this series, we're going to have a conversation about what it looks like to update our life, to look more like Jesus' life. And as we're having this conversation about what it means to update our life to look more like Jesus, we're going to follow along with this guy named Paul. Now, Paul was this guy in the Bible that was just like you and me. He was an imperfect person who was saved by grace, saved by Jesus, chasing after him to look more like him, to continually make updates in his life to reflect Jesus. And what I appreciate about Paul is that this guy was a straight shooter. He was one of the most honest dudes that you'll read about in Scripture. Now, there's this particular book in the Bible that Paul writes called Philippians. And in Philippians, he talks about how we should see this process of looking more like Jesus. And not only how we should see that process, but how do we deal with the frustration and exhaustion that we feel when we're pursuing Jesus. He writes this in Philippians 1:6. He says, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion." Now, what you need to know is the he that Paul is writing about is Jesus. And what Paul is trying to teach us in this moment is that when you say yes to Jesus, he will not leave you. I think a lot of times when we think about pursuing Jesus and trying to live a life where it looks more like him, we think in our head that Jesus is very distant. Hey, good luck. Good luck looking like me. I'm gonna be over here if you need me. So you got this? Great. It's actually not like that at all. What Paul is saying is that in this process of us updating our life to look like Jesus, he is right beside us, helping us in this process. And he doesn't leave us in this process. And that frustration that we feel and that exhaustion that we feel, we actually don't have to live in that. But we get to live in joy, knowing that what God cares about is us simply chasing after him, even if it isn't perfect. Earlier, I mentioned 4 areas of our life that we need to update so that we can look more like Jesus. Here are the 4 areas I mentioned earlier. The first one, how we speak. The second one, how we think. The third one I mentioned was how we treat people. And last, how we love others. I believe if we can update these areas of our life to look more like Jesus, we truly can go make a difference in this world. So tonight in group, today in group, you are going to look at those 4 areas and you're gonna have a conversation with your group about what it looks like to update those areas in Jesus. And I can't have you miss this part. When you have that conversation about updating those areas of your life, don't forget that God is with you in that process and that God is pleased with you as you chase after him. Let's be students that pursue after Jesus, update our life, and go make a difference.